Hey there friends, welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm of course Paul Glasgow here, the one and only Truth Pimp, dealing you a vulgar display of logic and reason on a daily basis as we barrel into the Independence Day weekend. Long weekend, finally it falls on either a Friday or a Monday so that we get a 3-day weekend out of it, right? So it's a beautiful thing. We have something pretty cool to talk about today, and let me throw the disclaimer out there ahead of time so that the cease and desists don't fly too soon, although they still may fly. I don't care. The views expressed in this video today are mine and mine alone. No one else I'm associated with or affiliated with has had any input on what I'm going to say today. So just so the attorneys know out there who might get butt hurt and get their feelings hurt, mail it to me, nobody else, okay? And I know you guys are really ready for the video now. Great video. First of all, it is brought to you by my friends over at Attorney on Retainer. Really ironical that they are actually the supporter of this video today. It just happened that way, right? I didn't plan it this way, but hey, here we are. Don't forget to use my code FTATF when you go there because you're going to get some immediate savings. Again, attorneysonretainer.us. And of course, I'm going to push more on those guys later towards the end of this video because they have a lot to say about this case that I'm discussing today. What is that case? Kayla Giles. Remember Kayla Giles a few years back? Good-looking girl here in Louisiana, state of Louisiana. Had issues with her husband. They were going through a divorce. And there was a transfer of the children, 2 children, at a public parking lot, Sonic and some other businesses right there. What ended up happening is they got into an argument, a heated argument. I mean, really, this happens all the time, right? Divorce, transferring the children. The husband aggressively, and you know what? Don't let me say aggressively because I'm not an attorney. The video's out there. I'm going to show you guys a video at some point. The husband approaches Kayla's vehicle that she had just gotten into, right? I guess there were some words exchanged. She jumps into the vehicle. Husband approaches the vehicle. This is important, at least to me it is. He reaches for the handle. When he does, he pulls the handle open. At that point, he receives some lead exposure. He drops to the ground. Kayla shot him. She went to prison for it. In the state of Louisiana. I mean, I could see if this happened in California, New York, Massachusetts, somewhere else. Louisiana? I mean, it bothered me when this case happened because I'm thinking as a resident of Louisiana, wait a minute, we've got stand your ground, we've got self-defense laws, everything that I need in this state to protect me as a lawful gun owner, and they throw it all out the window in a court case. Well, guess what? I'm not the only one that disagreed with that decision. Louisiana Supreme Court, Kayla Giles murder conviction, sentence reversed, vacated. Louisiana Supreme Court has vacated and reversed the 2022 murder conviction and sentence of Kayla Giles, finding fault with the instructions given to the jury surrounding the state's stand your ground law. But the decision wasn't unanimous and didn't immediately change her obstruction of justice conviction and 30-year sentence. Giles was arrested after shooting her estranged husband in the Alexandria Walmart parking lot on September 8th during a child exchange. She was convicted on January 29th, 2022 of second-degree murder and obstruction of justice. The case was prosecuted by Louisiana Attorney General's office after the Rapides Parish District Attorney's office recused itself soon after her arrest. The state Supreme Court had granted Giles a hearing that was held on December 9th. Her attorney, Jane Hogan, argued there was an error in the instructions given to jurors before they began deliberating in the case. She said no evidence had been presented during the trial that Giles was the aggressor, so jurors should not have been briefed on that. Now that's super important, and my friends Andy and Mark over at Attorneys on Retainer, I have a clip at the end of this video that's going to explain that a little bit better. Very interesting, if you ask me, on the different things that happened in this, and the different things that didn't happen in this case that likely should have. The opinion stated it bears emphasis that Giles and Kuti, that's her husband, were in the middle of a contentious divorce and child custody dispute after their daughter, who turned 2 on the day of the shooting. The day before the shooting, Giles had been served with papers about a new hearing in that same custody fight. It recounts how Giles repeatedly told dispatchers, first responders, and investigators that she fired the gun from the driver's seat in her vehicle after Coty opened the door. And it states that surveillance video captured from a nearby Sonic restaurant tends to verify that Giles already was inside her vehicle when Coty opened the door. So whenever we watch this court case unfold, I mean, most of us sat back thinking, well, she's going to get off. I mean, everything pointed to her getting off. There was some questionable stuff, and I'm certainly not a lawyer at this point, but there was some questionable stuff that was discussed along the way about the chronological order of things happening. I mean, quite frankly, she got a USCCA, like she purchased a firearm and she got a USCCA insurance policy just prior to the shooting. So those things right there were making people think suspect things. But if you know, and if you have any level of common sense, you know that, especially as a woman, I should say, and again, I don't always take the woman's side, but in this case, you have to think of it like this from a dangerous standpoint. You know, you have a grown man, you have a woman. Who's more at risk whenever you're arguing, right? From a bodily standpoint? Well, of course, the female is. So she, knowing that bad divorces, which she was in the middle of, can be contentious situations, she went out and got a firearm. And I commend her for that, because fortunately, that probably in many cases saves women's lives whenever they do arm themselves, when they have some guy who is pissed off. I mean, let's be honest, kids are involved, emotions are high. Makes sense to do that. In fact, I think both parties probably should carry firearms and notify the other one. Hey, just so you know, I am armed all the time. That might actually squash some things right away and have people stop doing stupid things. In fact, if this old boy had known that she was carrying and willing to use it, he probably would have thought twice. So it may have saved his own life had he had that bit of knowledge. Now I want to go back to this real quick. Jane Hogan argued there was an error in the instructions given to jurors before they began deliberating the case. Look down at the bottom also. In the decision published Friday, the court said it found those jury instructions constitute reversible error, unquote. Because of that, court didn't address any other errors alleged by Giles' defense. Now, what I want to do is I took a clip from my friends over at Attorneys on Retainer. Mark and Andy did an absolutely good video. I'm going to post their link to the entire video below this one in the description. I encourage you guys to go take a look at it. It's fascinating to look at what's happening with this and hear it from two attorneys talking about this. I'm a non-attorney, so I just took clips so it doesn't completely blow everybody's mind, but certainly go take a look at it. I want you to hear Andy and Mark discuss those errors to the jurors and the complexity of it, how it truly affects the outcome of cases, and how it can have an effect even after convictions on appeals.
First of all, there was a jury instruction that was given that shouldn't have been given. And second of all, there was a jury instruction that should have been given that wasn't. So bottom line is, she didn't get a fair trial here.
Yeah, as to the jury instruction that was erroneously given, it laid out to the jury that they could find that Kayla was the aggressor, and if they found that Kayla was the aggressor, they should completely disregard the defense of self-defense. But interestingly, in the opinion, the Louisiana Supreme Court literally made a finding that there was no evidence, no evidence that Kayla Giles was the aggressor, and therefore that instruction should never have been given.
Even better for her is the jury instruction that was not given to the jury that the Louisiana Supreme Court has instructed any retrial to include. And that is, under Louisiana's stand your ground law, because this person was making an unlawful entrance into her vehicle at the time when she shot, she is entitled legally to a presumption of reasonableness. The jury has to start, is required by law to start, with a presumption that she acted reasonably when she defended herself.
Yeah, and there's no bigger presumption in a self-defense case than the defendant is acting reasonably. The defendant is presumed to be acting reasonably. That's about as good a presumption as you can get. She was entitled to it under Louisiana law. She wasn't given that instruction. In addition, that instruction also makes it very clear that when Kayla Giles pulled the trigger, she wasn't required under Louisiana law to be in imminent fear of death or serious physical injury, as is normally the case when you use deadly physical force. Instead, she was legally permitted to use deadly physical force to stop that unlawful entry into her vehicle, which nobody really disputed in this case. It was very clear. You could see it on the video. Kayla had entered her vehicle, closed the door, and her husband at the time then walked over to the vehicle, unlawfully opened the door. We don't know exactly what was said, what exactly happened at that moment, but it was just mere seconds later, you see him fall back after being shot one time.
Now that's fascinating to me. You know, words have consequences. Even in a court of law, you can say dumb things outside of court. You can say dumb things in court. Some of those things may get you put right into prison or jail. But I'll tell you another thing they can do. It can get you a lawsuit thrown at you too. More on that later. There was a lot that went on after the Kayla Giles thing. And I mentioned briefly before that USCCA was her insurer, if you want to call it that. They do sell insurance type policies. At the time of all this, I was actually a customer of theirs as well. I was a card carrying member, a platinum card carrying member of USCCA when all this went down. When she pretty much got pushed to the side, and I'm using very careful language here because I know somebody out there is waiting to hammer me with something because they're little bitches. I made a comment in my video yesterday that sometimes it's better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid than to open it and remove all doubt. Sometimes people just can't help themselves. And the company that was insuring her, which was USCCA at the time, their owner, pride will kill you, man. Pride is a mofo. Their owner came out and felt the need to defend his position and their position as a company for dropping Kayla Giles during this entire process and not representing her in her court case, in her court fight. Tim Schmidt, on record, on video, stated there was a time when it became very, very clear, and I mean perfectly clear, that a member had committed premeditated murder. Yeah, this man's on video saying that. Like, chose to say those words. He wasn't being interrogated. He wasn't being waterboarded. He didn't have to say those words. He chose to say those words on his own. Not under duress. It was his decision to say those words. And not just those. These two. The evidence overwhelmingly demonstrated that this was a case of premeditated murder. I can assure you, there were attorneys, marketing people, hell, the janitor at USCCA saying, Tim, don't say that. Tim, don't put that video up. Tim's like, no, I got this. Go on, Tim, say it. You know where that video is now? It ain't on the internet. It's not on the internet. Now, we found it, obviously, but it ain't on the internet. Now, to further exemplify why I am happy and proud to be a part of Attorneys on Retainer, because these guys are not an insurance company. They are simply attorneys that represent you if you need to defend yourself in any type of self-defense situation. These guys are good, and they have an amazing team of attorneys. I've met them. I've been to the firm. Top notch. Top notch. Here's a little surprise.
That we've spoken to Kayla. Kayla is excited to have us as her counsel in this case, and we are gonna bring it big.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we hope for Kayla's benefit that this is not retried, that they don't bring the charge back.
And we're gonna take several actions ahead of time to try to convince that prosecutor that they should not retry this case.
But if they do, they are going to get all the lawyers at our firm doing the best job they can to work on this case. We will be there in the courtroom doing our best to defend her. We are going to give her the best defense possible on this case.
Somebody's not going to be sleeping good tonight. I don't know who, and I'm not trying to imply who, but somebody's not going to be sleeping good tonight. Kayla now has the entire team over at AOR at her beck and call to fight the good fight for her if this case is retried. Personally, guys, I don't think it's going to be retried. Not saying that's the end of litigation, if you know what I mean. But I don't think it's going to be retried. State of Louisiana, again, we are very conservative down here. I don't see any judge thinking that this is something that is worth retrying, wasting taxpayer money. Look for this to go away with the state of Louisiana. Again, other litigation probably pending. You know, sometimes it's best to just not be the baddest mofo in the room. You know what I'm saying? I know ego is we all deal with ego. Every single one of us. The most humble person out there is dealing with an ego issue at some point, right? It's just a thing, man. I mean, it's, you know, you go shoot one-on-one basketball. Your competitive edge, which is a subset of ego, makes you want to beat the guy. And you're going to talk trash after you beat the guy. I mean, it's a thing, right? It's in us as humans, especially as men, right? Sometimes the smart man knows when to shut up. Seriously. And I'm not trying to be a smart ass here. A smart man knows where that line is. A smart man knows I can get away with everything I say and do up to that point. That's where the line is. And I know it's there. May not be able to see it, but I know it exists. And that's where it is. I'm going to go up to it. I may stick my foot over it. I may actually dangle over it a little bit. But I ain't crossing it. Because my pride, I can check it. I know when to check my pride. I know when to say, Paul, this ain't the time, dude. This is not the time. You were good back there. Not right here, bro. Nope. This ain't the time. Let it go. Some people can't do that. And I feel like sometimes people in the past have opened their mouth a little bit too much. And pride has stung them.
That's pride f***ing with you. Fuck pride. Pride only hurts. It never helps.
Pride only hurts. It never helps. Guys, thanks for watching the video. Please share the video. Let people know that we are out here because YouTube's not a big fan of ours. And they squash these videos. If you don't mind, share the video, like the video, and of course make sure you're subscribed and ding that little bell so whenever we put a video out, you know it's out there. Hey, notice the shirt? Those of you that have been following me for a long time, my old t-shirt supplier, they made this Speed Racer t-shirt. It was a freaking hit, right? Then I changed to a different t-shirt supplier over at my friends at TriStar, who make absolutely awesome t-shirts, the softest, more comfortable t-shirts, the most comfortable ever. Well, guess what? This week, they released the Speed Racer MP5 t-shirt. This thing is absolutely awesome. I'm going to provide the link in the description down below. Go get you one because there are limited quantities, but you can get them now. They are available. They just dropped this week. The Legally Owned American MP5 Speed t-shirt. Check them out now. Again, go to TriStar. The link is in the description down below. Guys, I will be speaking to you tomorrow on not July 4th. That's the date. I will be speaking to you guys tomorrow on Independence Day. Have a great evening, guys.